Okay, today we're going to be talking about the tongue and the relation of the things that you say to perfection. I think the book of James has a lot to say about perfection. It also has a lot to say about the tongue. And learning to tame and control the tongue is going to be learning to tame and control the carnality of your flesh. And it's one of the hardest things to do before you will battle the flesh versus the spirit. And today we're going to take a look at the tongue. The areas that we'll look at will be James 1:19, 1:26, and 1:3, but there's going to be some other places that we go as well. In the early Christian church, there had to be a great freedom of speech. And within that freedom that they had of the speech they were to use, being that the law was abolished, there had to be a significant amount of abuse with that speech. What I mean is, James deals with the severity of the tongue. He deals with that, and when it comes to the clarity of what he is speaking about in regards to the tongue, it shows there was a great deal of ill-considered, ill-natured, self-assertive, and violent speech among the Jewish Christians. That probably took form in angry debating and bitter strife of the assembly. And there's lots of reasons to believe that based off of even chapter 3, verse 1, which would hint at that being a reason for all of the strife. Obviously, you've got the Jewish culture that has been around for nearly 3,500, 3,000 years to this point. And they're finding out that the Jewish law has been fulfilled. You're not under the law anymore, but you're under a law of liberty. And it's rocking their world. I mean, it'd be like somebody coming into us today as Christians and telling us, guys, God's not dealing with you under grace through faith anymore. You got to go back to keeping the commandments. You got to keep the sacrifices again. And it would be a very, very heated debate on the credibility of a statement like that. Well, that's what was happening in the early Christian church. You've got the Old Testament writings that are still valid, yet you now have a New Testament just being introduced after the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. There is absolutely some very significant events that are taking place during this time period. You've got miracles taking place, signs, wonders, just some amazing healings and unexplainable events taking place that give testimony to and credibility to the revelation that God has given to these early churches about the church age. And these discussions are things that probably happened. They probably happened. But what James is getting at here, the verse very clearly shows in 3:1, there were many who aspired to leadership in public ministry without taking in mind the serious responsibilities of that position. In that verse, James refers to the danger associated with too great a readiness to put forward one's opinions on matters of religion. Now, the reason that's important is because your opinion does not matter when it comes to religion. What matters is truth. Associated here with warning are bright gospel lessons and the reminder that one proof of our justified state is seen in our words, that our speech will reveal what and whose we are. A young man was sent to Socrates. Socrates was a philosopher. And this young man was sent to him to learn oratory, to learn how to speak. And on being introduced to this philosopher, he talked so incessantly that Socrates asked for double fees. "Why charge me double?" asked the young fellow. "Because," replied the orator, "I must teach you two sciences, the one how to hold your tongue, the other how to speak." And when it comes to the tongue, you're dealing with things that we say, things that we don't say, but truly, the things we say that come out of our heart. And it's an awakening statement in James chapter 3, verse 2, which says, For in many things we offend all. If any man defend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. That to me is a very awakening statement. It's amazing. It describes for you what it means to be a perfect man. What it means to be a perfect man. I mean, Jesus Christ himself said, it's not the things that go in a man that defile him, but the things that proceed out that defileth a man. But you take it a step further and you understand that the things that we talk about, the things that we say, they're things that come out of our heart. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. And if you want to be a perfect person, you've got to learn how to tame your tongue. You've got to learn to control your tongue. The things that we say are illustrative of what is taking place internally in our hearts. God is the greatest heart doctor in all of the world. He doesn't care about anything other than your heart. You can do all the great things to please God, but you cannot truly please Him without faith. And if you don't have a heart that has faith, and you cannot exercise that faith to trust God in all that we say and do, you cannot please God. But that's a perfect man. The man who learns to control his tongue is a man who has reached maturity of character. That's a mark of a mature Christian, someone who's learned to control their tongue. I'm not saying that you don't make mistakes or say things you don't mean. What I'm saying is you learn to control it. Some other considerations when it comes to your tongue and the things that we say is a sobering statement. The descriptive suggestions, the suggestive descriptions that James gives of the tongue is described in verse 6 as being a fire, setting the whole being on fire as from hell. The things that you talk about are going to be a reflection of the things you think about.